Welcome to this episode of Ascendle Unscripted. Today, we are joined by Ascendle Unscripted veteran Jason Ling, Director of Digital Strategy at Ascendle, and newcomer Christie Mealo, SVP of AI Products at 90 North. Welcome to you both. Thanks.
Thanks. Excited
Of
to
course.
be here.
We're very excited to have you and would love to maybe get like a little summary preview of you, Christy, as this is your first time on the show.
Yeah, I guess I'll try and keep it short because I tend to be long-winded. But yeah, basically my background is in product or business design and engineering/engineering management. So I guess, market myself on that trifecta of software development as well as kind of deep expertise in, I guess, what people are now calling traditional AI products, as well as now more of the new age of the whole Gen AI kind of revolution. I've worked at McKinsey, and then I was at CVS Health doing AI-driven care management for 6 years. And now I am at 90 North, which is a company within IPG Health. And yeah, I'm SVP of product, and most of the products that we're doing are AI-driven products that help drive marketing strategy and communications and advertising strategies, basically in the healthcare space. So hopefully that was a good, quick overview.
Got it. Love it. But I have a very selfish question, and not related probably to any of this. At McKinsey, do they still teach Barbara Minto Pyramid, SCQA framework and
Minto
stuff like that?
method. Yes, that was the Minto method. Was honestly, shout out to Jeremy Jonas. He was always pushing me to improve my communications with the pyramid principle and the Minto method because, I used to be even more long-winded than I am now, even in emails. And that is still something I aspire to. So yes, they still push that. And I actually love it. I think it's great. And I try and stick to it um, when I can. So yes.
Yeah, I love it too. I won't go down that tangent, but I love it. I teach part of it at UNH, and it's a great method for formulating thoughts. And I too am long winded, so I'm going to just stop right there and keep it to that. But I would love to kick off. AI is always the hot topic nowadays, and I'd love to hear. Jason put me onto this. Like, what is terrifying right now with AI in healthcare? Because places like healthcare and finance, right? These far more regulated places where you just can't move fast and break things, so to speak, to a certain degree. What's your purview?
Right. Well, that's a great question, and I'm trying to put together a good answer right now. I mean, when I was at CVS, I was working more directly in healthcare communications, less so on the marketing side. So I guess it's a little less terrifying. Not that I was terrified there, honestly, because we had a lot of good policies in place, but a little less terrifying, I think, working on the more of the marketing and the advertising side, though obviously, there's HIPAA, you have to be compliant, all those sorts of things. When I think of what terrifies me personally, I think it's just this, even for us AI practitioners, I just think all of this hype and all of the unknowns of what the future of the world is going to look like generally with AI, like who's going to still have jobs? Is it going to replace, there's a bunch of anxiety and excitement at the same time. And I think, I mean, I speak for myself, but I don't know, Jason, let me know, all of you guys in the space. Um, I don't know. I don't have a magic crystal ball. I don't know what the future holds, but I am excited to at least be on the forefront of the folks figuring it out. And I do like to remain cautiously optimistic about the future. So there's a lot of exciting things happening, and I still think there's a lot of work to be done, and we're not going to just be totally replaced by bots. Hopefully.
Jason, I consider you hopefully, but who knows?
Hopefully.
um, Jason, I was going to say I consider you a futurist. Going off of what Christy laid out there, what do you think that even the near term, what we should be looking for, or here's what we might want to look out for?
Um, I think what generative AI, agentic AI, whatever you want to slap a label on it, what it is showing is that we can now start automating what I'll refer to as like the paperwork. And especially if you're in product, it's a wonderful tool that allows you to focus on, in my opinion, what really matters, which is thinking. Um, Like I made the joke. I was talking to someone the other day, and I'm like, within 3 to 5 years, I would love it if a product manager never has to write a Jira story ever again,
Right.
because all they need to do is
Yeah.
all they need to do is focus on what are they trying to do. It's that vision focusing. It's all the soft skills, like what's your narrative, what's your story, what are you trying to create, what is your vision. You need to go and negotiate with other stakeholders. Like it's the human aspect of technology that I think will become more important than the paperwork, the quote unquote paperwork. But and here's where I think the dark side of it is that too much reliance upon these agents and AI and everything like that. I can honestly legitimately see it stifling critical thinking.
Well, yeah, that's a great point. And sorry, I'm at this conference and something I
Jump
forget
in.
which presentation it was, but I should remember. But it was a pretty good marketing presentation, and they brought up, the risk of de-skilling marketers. But I mean, I feel the same thing with product, and I totally agree, Jason. I mean, like, again, like, I work on AI products that we have for our users, but I'm like kind of an ops person at heart as well. And I'm really excited by, having prompts and templates for, the stories, the requirements, kind of the optimization of our operating processes. But yeah, I mean, even with myself, sometimes I'm like, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use all these things on a day-to-day basis. And I'm like, sometimes I need to step back and like force myself to like, write an email or write something out on paper. But especially for the younger generation, there's definitely a fear there to like, yeah, you don't want to get to a place where like, I don't know, if the internet goes down or the power goes out, that they actually can't perform their job because they don't know how to do some of this basic stuff without an agent doing you know, the paperwork for them.
Yeah, it's like it's a difference between being a tool and being a crutch.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what honestly that's kind of what I'm looking at it, because like Krista, to your point, like yeah, I'm on Claude, I'm on GPT, I'm on Perplexity like dozens of times throughout the day and everything like that. But in my mind, it's like before I do it, and I'll be honest with you, it's only been recently since I've had to like stop myself with this, where it's been the whole thing of like, wait, hold on, do I really need to write a prompt for this,
Yeah.
or can I
Exactly.
just do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's where I think it is. It's like it's that whole, like, again, Krista, to your point, like anyone who says they've got this whole thing figured out, I just don't believe them, because none of us have this all figured out.
100%.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think again, I think the future is like, if it'd be great about efficiency, but unfortunately, efficiency can have incredible negative connotations of people being replaced with bots because of the illusion of efficiency. Um, Lack of critical thinking because it's just more efficient for me to ask Chat GPT and then take what it says verbatim and be like, oh cool, that's my answer. When it's like it's almost like efficiency can rapidly turn into complacency and laziness.
Yeah. 100%.
So my question for both of you is how, like, it's ironic that creativity and innovation are causing creativity and innovation to shrink. because you're not having to use it as much. So as an example from my own life, I read a New York Times theater review from 1895 last night. I needed ChatGPT to translate this because the writer was so good and writing at such a high level of abstraction, using words that you're just not used to. It wasn't plain speak, but this is how people talked back then, right? This is George Bernard Shaw, not a not verbose person. But to your point about like day to day, it's like we become so over reliant on the tools, they become a crutch, right? And then what I see happening is our scope of creativity or creation becomes so narrow that everything looks the same. Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy. So it's
Yeah.
like, so I guess for both of you, right? Looking outside of, like Jason, you're saying, it's like, and even I see it in myself in an automobile, like the blind spot alarm. I feel myself failing to check my blind spot because I'm like, it'll beep. I'm like, Michael, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Turn your head, dude. Look over your shoulder to see if there's a truck there and not rely on the sensor on your car. So it's like, so how, inside organizations day to day, and you're talking about, uh, folks coming into the workforce now, how do you leverage the tools, but make sure they do not become crutches? And then how do you consider to think creatively outside the box so that the machine is not pushing you, funneling into what's predictable? Because in a way that's kind of predictive, everything wants you to be predictable and does not want you to listen to like a million different kinds of music. It wants to just narrow the scope so it can predict. How do you
Yeah.
counteract that in organizations? Christie, I'll start with you. And, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a number of thoughts, but I guess like people coming in to the workforce, I mean, to me, we've struggled even at my previous organization, starting to struggle with, doing technical interviews remotely in the age of ChatGPT, having to have like questions that we know are like we know that if you give it to ChatGPT, it's going to give like a weird syntax or something that a human wouldn't think to do to sort of counteract that. And I think there is a nervousness too. Like, I don't want to just say of young people, but like of people searching for jobs. Like, even if you're telling them not to do this, if they know that other people are doing this, is a like, I think there's like an anxiety there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I try and maintain, to me, the most important thing with, I think, candidates in the workforce and just with talent is like passion and eagerness and willingness to learn, even I would say over technical skills for technical folks. Because if you have someone who has great technical skills but has no desire to do anything, you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. And I try and stay young at heart. I used to work. I used to work harder, not smarter. I think I've gotten better with that in my life. But like as I've aged, I sometimes find myself getting too comfortable and too lazy. And that's typically when I sign up for another degree or another course that's kind of going to force me into learning stuff. I'm not a good self-paced learner, but if I have to, I'm better at showing up for other people than myself. This is it's a long-winded answer, I guess, but I think just looking for people who are genuinely willing to learn and genuinely excited about the work. And yeah, helping to reinforce and maintain that balance between, we do want people using these tools. We want people using these tools to empower themselves without becoming just reliant on them. We want to preserve that passion and desire to learn and desire to solve problems on the human level. So I don't know if that was a good answer, but I find myself even now, like my workflow with ChatGPT a lot of the times is like voice to text. I'll like spit some word vomit and then have it like rearrange things. But I've been increasingly finding it like it jazzes it up in the very stereotypical kind of ChatGPT way with all the M dashes and all the like over. And now I'm kind of telling it, and I think Claude's been doing a better job recently. Like, no, just kind of take my word vomit, and make sure that fix the grammar, structure a little better, send it back to me. I don't want you to add all this like pizzazz to it. Yeah, because it starts to all sound the same, right?
human qualities is something that's come up. Well, first of all, thank you for that, Chrissy. Human qualities is something that's come up on Ascendle Unscripted quite a few times. Jason, how do you feel about what Chrissy said in regard to, looking for new team members, new employees? Because I have this inkling that like it's kind of ironic, but like it's the non-technical that seems to be moving to the forefront. The soft skills,
Yeah.
your willingness, your curiosity, your commitment, your persistence, all these things in this, hyper technical era seem to be even more relevant.
Well, it's because that's all the things that AI can't do.
Mm.
And that's why I say about like, so just to go back and answer your question. So in my career, I've hired and overseen hundreds and hundreds of product managers and product people and designers and all that, and even some engineers in the past. And if I were in a position where it's like, okay, I need to hire people now, mandatory in my book, especially if you're product, that you are, I'm not going to say fluent, but like AI is part of your life. It's part of your work cycle. It's part of your workflow. It's part of like how you do your job. Um, because again, it's I want you to focus on the soft skills. My last company, whenever I would hire somebody, I would flat out tell them, I go, here's the deal. I'm not going to teach you how to be a product manager. If you don't know how to be a product manager, you're not going to be here, period. Like, I don't care how you write your stories. I don't care how you write your documents. I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is all the soft skills. I care about what you're thinking, what's your rationale. Like when you show me a roadmap, I'm going to ask why. Why do you have it structured
Strategy.
this way? Why is it
Yeah.
here? Why is that? I'm sorry, Christy, what?
Oh, sorry. It's product strategy, really, and like leadership.
Right, exactly. And AI is and this is where, in my mind, where I make sure that AI is the tool and not the crutch. AI is amazing. And this season kind of goes into on the marketing side of things. So in my startup days, way a few years ago, I would also have to wear a product marketing hat because we were, small startup. And AI is really, really, really good at disseminating and analyzing quantitative data. And I'm being very prescriptive. Quantitative data, because it'll save me 6 hours pouring through my analytics suite. And so like, where are my numbers? Oh, I have a drop off here, 37% drop off here. Or, oh, this thing isn't happening. I'm only getting 14% here. Or I'm getting 87% here. That is fantastic because it saves me so much time. But when you're really doing product strategy, anything building, whether it's marketing or whether it's that, quantitative is only half of the equation. The other half is qualitative data. AI can't do qualitative because AI doesn't ask why, and it doesn't understand why. So that's where I think from a tool perspective, that's what I use it. I use it like crunch my numbers, tell me what's going on, and then it's my brain and my humanity, in a sense, to then figure out the why. Because if I ask Claude or GPT or Perplexity or any of them, like, why is this happening? It's just going to regurgitate things that it's going to go out research, and it's just going to regurgitate me boilerplate answers. And they're not going to be right. So that's where I see it.
Yeah.
And here I thought, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Christy.
No, I was just saying, and like I've heard, I think the Apple paper that just came out, which I have not read and need to read through more, but I think they're finding that a lot of what LLMs are good at is kind of memorizing.
Yes.
And you'll get a lot of the same. It makes sense.
What does the Apple paper say? Jason, have you read? I've not looked at it.
I haven't read it in depth, but it is basically, it's funny. It's kind of polarizing now for some reason. One of the thoughts is like, well, Apple put this out, and basically the TLDR of it is, hey, guess what? LLMs aren't as impressive as you think they are. Like they have their massive faults, and when they fall apart, they really fall apart. Like they stop caring. I remember reading like one line of it. It's like, well, it just stops caring, and it just kind of gives like a wonky kind of BS answer kind of thing. It's and it's like, okay. And everyone's like, Apple, why are you doing this? And of course, there's a lot of the conspiracy behind it going like, well, because Apple is so behind on their AI. So that's why they put this paper out there going like, hey, everyone, Claude and, Claude and GPT aren't the greatest things in the world, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But I mean, there's a kernel of truth to it. Like you call them hallucinations, or it's like, it's just repetitive nature because it has limitations.
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought it up having not read it, but I kind of have pulled out the popcorn and I'm interested to see how that progresses, because people are also saying, and maybe there's some truth to it, that Apple's really just like watching this playing field of what's happening, and like that them not putting something out is like very deliberate, but
Yes.
to be seen, to be seen. So
I'm
just some of
resisting the urge to go down this rabbit hole because it's the same company that, when asked why they changed the port on the phone, their answer was courage, and that's hysterical. Oh yeah, courage is storming the beaches of Normandy. Courage is staring down a tank in Tiananmen Square. Courage is not looping people into your pipelines. That's not courage, Apple. Sorry, and also Apple's world renowned for saying this is our best iPhone to date, and me going, well, I sure hope so. How could it not be? It's the newest, guys. So I actually agree to some extent. I mean, the whispers that I always hear is like, they're just not. And once you fall behind, in my understanding, in AI, which is, I think, why a lot of folks, organizations are racing, once you fall behind, your machine is going to have a very difficult time catching up.
Right. Well, I mean, AI, and I've said this a few times, where it's like AI is a horizontal technology. Like, and I firmly believe this. I mean, you have steam train, automobile, airplane, semiconductor, internet, smartphone, and now AI. So, and if you kind of look at historically the laggards, they kind of like, all right, you're kind of too slow and it's going to be difficult for you to catch up. But, and I know you don't want to go down the rabbit hole or anything like that, but I think there might be some grain of truth of Apple kind of like sitting back, because it's freaking bananas now.
yeah.
Like if you can, I'm gonna go to, after this, I'm gonna go on Replit. I've got an idea in my head. I like Christie's laughing. Like, I'm gonna go on Replit and I'm gonna make something. And then I'm gonna drop a line to a couple of my VC buddies that I've known for years up here, and I'm gonna see how much money I can get from them. Like, it's
5 million.
that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, I
Huh?
know.
5 million
Some of
right
it's
there.
crazy
Just right there.
for, well, yeah, and I will say some of it's crazy, particularly for companies that don't have like a data moat, or like, like they're literally just selling a wrapper or even just software. And like increasingly the value of, I don't want to short sell software. I'm in the business of software, but I will say increasingly like the ability to code software is becoming much, much easier, especially with these LLMs and these other tools. Just being able to build something is no longer a differentiating factor, really. Like, what matters is your sort of, and this, my boss Jack talks about this a lot, and he's big on this as well, but like the data moat, and like your data is the differentiating factor. If you have
Yeah.
more data, better data than your competitors, and you're building the software on top of that, they can go and build the same thing. It doesn't matter, because they don't have the data and the intelligence that you do. So, but I'm going off on a whole tangent. But yeah, Jason, I think it's crazy some of what VCs are throwing money at that doesn't seem to have a long-term differentiate. Like, it seems like you're just gambling, at that point, to kind of see who has the sharper elbows with some of these low-hanging software fruit. I don't know.
I mean, it was the smartphone days. It was the first smartphone days in the aughts, where everyone had to have an app, and it
Yeah.
was all competing on apps, and that's what it was, and everything like that. But yeah, I think I agree 100%. And like, even before AI, like I've worked with companies in the past where it's like, you're not doing anything new, but your data is where your gold mine is. Like, that's where it's all about. And then, for the longest time, it was this whole notion of like, well, the only way I can differentiate myself is I have to be basically like a Swiss Army knife to beat my competition. It's like, no, you don't. Do one thing really, really good. And then your data. It's like, and more importantly, how do you use that data? Like there's that meme that was going around for a while there, where it's the like, tell me about your AI strategy. And it's like, well, we use AI for marketing. No, tell me what your strategy is. I go, we spend $700,000 on tokens to get 1.3 million in revenue.
Right.
Thank you. It's like
Well, and
your plan.
well, and yeah, I guess, sorry, I'm my ADD brain. I'm also, well, just doubling back on the whole like Apple thing though. You know, back in the day, my first master's degree, I wrote this whole thesis on how all of these paradigm shifts kind of happen at the intersection of language and technology, which is really, to some extent, I mean, information and technology. But I think that's like, we saw a huge shift, right, with telecommunications, then with the internet. Now, I think another big reason that this NLP and LLMs, with the new wave of generative AI coming to the forefront, more so than traditional AI even did with, I'll just say everyday users, is because it really is this paradigm shift kind of at the intersection of, again, language, natural language, and technology. I think, and I think Megan Liu, I believe it was Megan Liu, that posted something about this the other day, saying like she's ready for the new interface. And I've been feeling the same thing as well. Like, we are going to enter into a world where it's going to be a lot less scrolly, clicky, tappy, and more just talking. And we're not fully there yet. I mean, we're in this weird space of like, I'm voice to text to my phone. It's then being then I'm copying, pasting it in different places. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is because, I'll ask Siri, not to hate on Apple, or anything, but I'll try and do voice to text on my iPhone, and it performs their recording performs way worse than if you do it in ChatGPT, because my lead developer knows the technology. I don't know, but they use a better technology for that voice to text feature than Apple currently is. And also, Siri half the time will just not be able to like answer useless questions. I mean, if I had ChatGPT, oh, now she's starting up. But if I have ChatGPT just on call in there, we would be halfway to that future state interface. ChatGPT maybe should make a phone. You know what I mean? Um, but that's why, I guess, sorry, I'm rambling here, but I'm interested to see how Apple responds to this, because like they could, yeah, get us significantly closer to that future world by doubling down on some of those AI driven features and getting up to speed, because they have the hardware in everybody's hands.
You said something right. And I've been saying this for a long time, where it's the like, as new generations have come around who have never known a world without an iPhone in their hand or the internet or anything like that, there are certain, I'll call it behavioral expectations. In the sense of, I expect my experience first off to be personal. Like it's about me. I want to feel like I'm having this experience, and not like the generic one that everybody else has. I want it to feel like me. I want it to feel personalized. I want it to be all about me. But then secondarily, I also want it to be conversational. Like I want to feel like a conversation. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. We have
Yeah.
the tech.
And the more conversational things become, and if for better and for worse, like when you're writing something down on a piece of paper, when you're typing something in, there's like a tool. There's more than one, I guess, maybe more than one tool between your brain and what is being produced. Whereas, now the only tool is your voice, which there's still a layer there between, you're not just transmitting your brain. I forget what that's called. You're not just doing telepathy, although I know people are apparently working on that too, which is kind of terrifying. If you ask me what's terrifying. But yeah, it's definitely, that's definitely where things are going. And I'm excited about that. But, you know, it's like that whole slow design, slow living thing. Sometimes you need the consciousness of the paintbrush, like the interference or the noise between your hand and the canvas. So I think we all need to occasionally, you know, maybe take a step back and do some creative writing once a month or something to keep our brains from totally just becoming plugged into the future of the internet that we're walking into.
Well, hearing both of you, it's like thinking of like the role of these machines is the reduction of friction and the extension of capabilities. If your capabilities suck, they're not going to extend that far. If they're great without the machine, they're going to go even farther. But to your point, Christie, friction plays a role in growth. And without any friction, that's just a universal law. If you don't, put any stress on your muscles, they're going to atrophy. As with any skill and anything. So I would love to hear, y'all's thoughts on the introduction of friction for growth purposes, because we're surrounded by tools that reduce friction. What about, how can an organization tactically or strategically introduce friction that's going to continue to make the machines a tool instead of a crutch? Because listening to you both now, it sounds like and it seems like that in order for the tools not to become crutches, you do need to strategically introduce friction at some sort of consistent interval.
Thoughts, but I want to hear Jason's ideas first,
I
so I
want to hear
can
both your thoughts on this one.
riff off
All right,
of
I'll
that.
I'll I'll, I'll make mine really 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 quick. I think it's the really 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 emphasizing the fact that these tools are tools, and that the more critical thinking, softer skills, et cetera, are even more important and more valued. Almost to the point where if you want to get like draconian about it, it's the like, okay, if you're going to write a product requirements document and you hand it to me, I'm going to feed it through to see if you wrote it, if ChatGPT wrote it. And if that's the case, then you and I are going to have a conversation, because it's the like, so it's doing your job now. It's a tool. Like, I care about the 80%. I care about the, if it's the 80-20 rule, where it's 20% of your thoughts but 80% of the paperwork, I care about the 20%. I want to know why. Justify this. Like, it's almost like it's pitching. Like, you have this thing. So I think that's where it's, in my mind, if I were running an organization like that, I would sit there and be like, okay, cool. I'm so glad that you used GPT or Claude or whatever to save 12 hours of writing the document, but I need you to walk me through it.
Yeah. No, and I think now that we're having this conversation, what's the novel idea I now have is that, or not novel, but what's becoming apparent to me is that the friction is your job. I mean, the and my team will tell you, like, I love to introduce friction, because even with a team, like, when they get, you know, if they're a team that's used to like building stuff, doing stuff, they can get very into, I was just out for like 3 weeks, right? And like the team will get very into like what they're building and like the tasks and like getting the stuff done. And it's great. But sometimes like you need to take a step back. You need to say, like, why are we doing certain things that we're doing? Question certain things, put the brakes on certain things. But yeah, and like even with, again, like in practice with my team, we'll have sessions where, we have Miro board sort of ideation sessions. Like, I think having those kind of workshops with your team, I'd say at the more of the senior leadership level, right? Like having more workshops with your team, your organization, at least on a quarterly basis, if not like monthly, becomes kind of critical. And I think kind of the conundrum that we're running into too is like, especially for younger, newer to the workforce folks, you know, if they rely on these things too much and it becomes too much of a crutch and they don't have the skills to say, wait, to introduce the friction, that's where we're going to have problems. And it's a tendency of people to perhaps lean towards being lazy or taking the easy route. So I think that's, again, coming full circle back to why it's really critical to, and even more so now that technical skills are becoming less valuable. I will say they're becoming a little bit, technical skills are extremely valuable, but like being a code monkey is no longer going to be valuable. Like just being able to write code is no longer valuable. The soft skills and the, ability to remain curious, ask why, have the passion to want to solve the problems, that's going to give you the ability to introduce the friction even at the lower levels. And we're going to need to be training our, upcoming generations to be thinking critically like that, and treating the agents as if they're their employees and being like, wait. And that's a little bit difficult because, you need to go through the whole learning experience yourself. So we're definitely going to see like a major, I think, shift in workplace patterns. And it'll be interesting and also possibly a little terrifying to see. So we'll see, but we'll see how it goes.
We're almost at time, but maybe we could just end on this. If a leader is listening to this, I'd love to hear from both of you on Christie's thought just a moment ago here. How workplace patterns are shifting. What do you think? If I'm somebody that's got a company and I'm looking towards the next 1, 2, 3 years, these shifts are going to happen. How do I stay ahead of them? What can I implement now that's going to serve me later? What should I be thinking about? What should I maybe be thinking to avoid? What should I do more of, less of? But whatever comes up for y'all. Maybe Jason, if you want to start on this.
My advice would be, don't get distracted by the shiny things. And also, more importantly, with this big shift, outcomes are going to become infinitely more important than outputs. Like,
Yes.
to get very, very specific, like your roadmap should not be a roadmap of features. It should be a roadmap of what outcomes are you trying to achieve. That's the mental shift that you should take, because prior to having this infinite toolbox at your disposal, the outputs were part of the puzzle pieces, but now it's just kind of like it's secondary or tertiary. It's like it's there. It's like it now is what are you trying to accomplish? That's the mental shift, and it needs to happen.
Yeah, I will second that and say, like, I've always been like a fan of like I said, and I'm an ops person at heart, even with the product ops and team ops, which I wrote my second thesis on for my other master's degree, just to be lame and bring that up, that I'm basically a degree collector at this point. But um, you know, I've always been big on making sure like we're tracking, again, like the sprint burn down, the points, all of those sort of metrics, other metrics that are coming in from the product usage. And, also when we're approaching new features and new projects, making sure we've done sort of an impact versus effort ratio, especially nowadays with the just sheer number of AI requests that come up. Some of them are just not, we see all the time people, like business people, asking for things that, everybody's excited about this AI hype. So business people asking things that are high effort, low impact. So I agree with everything on that front. And yeah, I just think we're going to also be needing to prepare for a workforce, like they brought it up at Databricks, where you're going to have more junior, I don't want to say junior, but you're going to have more team members that are working in collaboration with agents and managing agents in the future. That's something we need to prepare for. Again, I think soft skills, grit, purpose, willingness to learn become increasingly important. And if you're not sure I'd say have a balance of like staff augmentation or some degree of like contracting. If you can't find the right people for the roles, it's going to be, I mean, it's always been the case, but it's become increasingly more important. You want to find those high value team players that can, really grow more of a strategic mindset and a mindset of like, why are we doing this? Not just like, code monkeys or drones that are like, give me the tasks, because that will be replaced by AI.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Maybe we'll see you in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Jason, thank you so much as always. Audience, thank you to you especially for joining us on this episode of Ascendle Unscripted. Until next time, build smart.